Developing this morning out of Washington, the bipartisan debt ceiling and budget cuts package is on its way to President Biden's desk in time to avoid a catastrophic default on the nation's loans.
Late last night, the Senate joined the House in passing the bill, despite objections from the far right and left.
The 60-vote threshold having been achieved, the bill is passed.
After weeks of partisan rancor and hard-fought negotiations, the Senate has passed a bill to suspend the debt ceiling for 2 years while cutting the budget, preventing an economic catastrophe.
America can breathe a sigh of relief, because in this process, we are avoiding default.
The deal President Biden and House Speaker Kevin McCarthy brokered has now passed through both chambers of Congress in time for Monday's default deadline, but not without objections from the far right and left. From conservative complaints that spending cuts don't go far enough, to other Republican arguments the bill doesn't spend enough on the military.
The number one job of the federal government is to defend this nation.
On the other side of the aisle, progressives oppose changes to social programs.
Fundamental programs that are going to affect the very foundations for families to thrive.
Some Democrats also dug in over environmental impacts, including the inclusion of the Mountain Valley natural gas pipeline.
Virginians don't want to have their land taken for a pipeline unless there is a thorough process.
In the scramble to get the bill passed, senators sped through a process to vote on amendments everyone knew would fail, but that allowed senators to send a message about their objections. With the U.S. economy at risk, a rare moment of bipartisanship in a deeply divided government.
And the bill now heads to the president's desk for his signature with 3 days to spare before the default deadline. He's called this compromise good for the American people and good for the American economy.
Meanwhile, the Senate has passed legislation that would block President Biden's student debt relief program. That bill will now make its way to President Biden's desk, and President Biden has promised to veto it. The resolution repeals the Biden administration's program to cancel up to $10,000 in loans for those whose income falls below a certain level, and up to $20,000 to students who received Pell Grants.